These notes are based off a video, not mine, but a 4-hour Spring Boot full course that's in the description below the like button. It's super helpful. This is just going over some of the code that I learned from it and what I took from it. So this code is going to be on dependency injection. This is hands-on. So we have our dependency demo folder right here. Now I just made a file, new, and then other, to put the Spring Boot application, and we've gone over that in the previous video in the playlist link below the like button. But for this one, I've set all the code up from the video here. The dependencies that we're going to want to add for this project is Spring Reactive Web, Spring Web Services, and Jersey. We could add more, but we're going to finish here. So what if you want to create an object, but you don't want to do it manually? This is where we're going to use dependency injection to get objects whenever we require it. We get the compiler to return an object of the customer class. So that's what we're going to do here. And to check that this is working, we're going to have a public display at the bottom right here that's going to print this. So inside of here, just to test this, we have our private int customer ID, private int customer name, and then since it's a customer, we have our private string course name, string customer name as well. And then we are going to have all of these getters and setters for it. We just want to right click and then do source and then generate our getters and setters. So that's going to get into everything here. Don't worry about line 43, just focus on line 41 and 42. We have a public void display, and then we're going to print out customer's object returned successfully. We'll come back to this tech part in a second. Now, with every class, we're going to have an at component. This is important because without the component, it will not work because it's not a component of our bean, and we need it to be. It's required when we run like this. We have our demo dependency application. This is a class that was generated with our file. The customers.java and technologies.java, we made them ourselves. So for this one, we have to have at Spring Boot application, because it's a Spring Boot application. We have our public class, we have our public static void main, and then we have our configurable application context. Now this isn't standard, it's just going to come with Spring application.run. In Spring application.run, we want to pass in the class that we are running. We're going to pass in our dependency demo application class, and then we want to store all of this inside of context. And we want it to be a configurable application context. So this is what this is. This is just a name, and this is all going to be stored inside of here. Now we want to get our class. So we are going to have customers C. So we're basically making a new instance of our customers class. We're storing it in C, and then we're going to do context.getBean, and then we pass in the customers.class. So we have our configurable application here, and we use the .getBean of it, and then we pass in our customers.class. We pass the whole class inside of here. And then we want to do c.display. That c.display is just going to display this right here. And we use C because that's the name of our customers that we gave this right here. And that's just all for how that would work. Now we want to work on how a specific class is dependent on another class. So we would create a new class, and that's going to be our technologies.java. We are going to add our private int tech ID, private string tech name, and then we have our getters and setters down here. We always want to make sure that we have component to get the bean. Now we're going to go back to the customer, and we're going to want to print this out. So to do that first, we are going to make a private technologies tech detail. So we make an instance of this class right here, we call it tech detail, and then we have getters and setters for this right here. So we're going to get and set our tech detail. Now lower in our display, we want to print this out, tech detail.tech, and that's just going to print out this system.out.println, which is a void method that says we've completed. So that's just something that we're adding inside of our public void display, which is going to get printed out in our dependencies. Now, another important thing is that when we're doing this, if we don't have this auto-wired, we're going to get an error. We need to use auto-wiring to make sure the customer class actually recognizes the technologies class. So before our technology section, before this private technologies tech detail, this is the important part, we're going to want to have an auto-wired. If we need to, we can go into our src main resources and make the server.port some other different port if our server port is occupied. And that's going to be it. So this is our customers class with everything imported. We have our main part, we have our server port, and we have our technologies class. So all we need to do is go into the file, and then we are going to go down to run as, and we want a Spring Boot application. So pulling the console over, we are going to get this, and we see that customer's object returned successfully and completed, and that's what our system.out.println statements are. So that is going to be how we do dependency injection.